Okay, so I want you to try something for me right now, if you can. Just pull out your phone, look at it, and think about the complexity just for a second of unlocking that screen. You type in, what, a 6-digit passcode? Or maybe you just hold it up and it scans the geometry of your face. It's a very specific, precise input that triggers this massive invisible system to just wake up and start working.
It is, yeah. It's a mechanism we probably use 100 times a day. We don't even think about what's behind it.
Exactly. We just take it for granted. Now, what if I told you your body has a similar unlocking mechanism? And what if that passcode wasn't your fingerprint and it wasn't a number you type? What if the passcode was a very specific set of sounds?
And that really is the hook for today. We're looking at the human body not as this, statue of bones and muscle, but as a high-stakes, bubbling chemical laboratory.
A lab we can actually hack using ancient sound technology.
That's the claim we're investigating.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating intersection between biology, acoustics, and ancient wisdom.
We're digging into two specific texts, Volume 2 of Gayatri Mahavigyan and the Archives of Akhan Jyoti, specifically from May 1978.
And our mission today is to understand what these texts call the biological alchemy of endocrine harmony.
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
But the implications are huge. We are talking about the Gayatri Mantra. Now, most people know this is a spiritual chant. You hear it in yoga studios and temples.
Right.
But these sources are arguing that it's actually a precise tool, a biochemical regulator designed to manage the endocrine system.
I love this angle. It's the original biohacking. So let's, for a minute, strip away the incense and the mysticism. Let's just look at the hardware.
Okay.
The source material starts with this pretty radical redefinition of what the human body even is.
Right. Akhan Jyoti makes this point very clearly. We tend to obsess over the casing of the body. We look in the mirror, we see the structure, the fitness, the skin.
Sure.
But the text argues that true health, the actual functioning of life, it's all chemical. It's driven by secretions. Precisely. The invisible puppet masters. Your mood, your energy, your sleep, it is all dictated by these tiny amounts of fluid secreted by your glands.
So you could have the best muscles in the world, but if your cortisol or your insulin is out of whack,
The whole system crashes.
it's like having a Ferrari with no oil and sugar in the gas tank. It doesn't matter how good the chassis looks. If the fluids inside aren't right, you're not going anywhere.
That is a perfect analogy. And if you think of the body as a complex chemical plant, you need a manager. You need a control system to decide when to release what and exactly how much.
And the central claim we're exploring is that the Gayatri Mantra is that manager.
That's the claim. It acts as the regulator.
Okay, so this is where I need us to slow down and get technical, because mantras balance energy is something you see on a bumper sticker. It's vague.
It is.
But Gayatri Mahavigyan gets incredibly specific about how this works physically. It talks about something called the 24-switch mechanism.
This is the part that really surprised me. The text moves away from just faith and straight into anatomy. It points out that the Gayatri Mantra is composed of exactly 24 syllables.
And that number isn't random.
According to this text, no. It corresponds to 24 specific glands, or let's call them energy centers, located throughout the human body. It essentially maps the mantra onto our anatomy.
So the claim is that each syllable is like a key for a specific lock.
Or a switch on a dashboard. Imagine a control room with 24 toggle switches. Each one controls a different system. The text argues that articulating these syllables interacts with those switches.
But how? I mean, I'm saying words right now. Coffee, podcast. Am I flipping switches? What makes these syllables different from me just, talking?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer, according to the source material, is in the mechanics of the mouth. Specifically, the relationship between the tongue and the hard palate.
The roof of your mouth.
Yes. And I want you to try this. Listener, you can do this too. Just run your tongue along the roof of your mouth, right behind your teeth, then move it back. It's not smooth, is it?
No, it's ridged. It's texture.
It is extremely complex terrain. And Gayatri Mahavigyan says this area is a dense network of nerve endings. It's basically a keyboard.
A keyboard inside your mouth? That is a wild image.
It's the interface.
Yeah.
When you speak normally, you're sort of hitting keys randomly. But the Sanskrit syllables of this mantra are designed to force the tongue to strike very specific pressure points on that palate in a very specific sequence.
So it's like typing in a password versus just mashing the keypad.
That's it, exactly. It's tactile. It's percussive. And the text explains that this physical pressure, the tongue hitting the nerve endings, generates what it calls a neuroelectric wave.
Neuroelectric sounds a little sci-fi. Can we ground that a bit?
We can. It aligns with basic physiology. We know that tactile stimulation creates electrical signals that travel through our nervous system. You touch a hot stove, a signal shoots to your brain. The text is just claiming that this specific sequence of pressures sends a very specific signal. It's not just noise, it's input, it's data.
Okay, so let's visualize this. We've got the internal lab, we've typed the password on the roof of our mouth, we've generated the signal. Where does it go? Who's receiving this data?
It goes straight to the boss. The signal travels from the palate directly into the brain, specifically targeting the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland.
The pituitary, I remember that from biology class.
For good reason. The pituitary is the master gland. It's the conductor of the entire endocrine orchestra. This tiny pea-sized thing at the base of your brain tells the thyroid to speed up, the adrenals to calm down. It runs everything.
So if the conductor is distracted, the whole orchestra sounds terrible.
Exactly. If the pituitary is erratic, you get hormonal chaos, anxiety, fatigue, metabolic issues. The claim in Gayatri Mahavigyan is that the vibration and the current from the mantra are specifically tuned to reset the pituitary.
It's a hard reboot for the master gland.
That's how the text frames it. By regulating the regulator, you bring the entire chemical laboratory back into balance.
This is fascinating because it completely bypasses the usual psychological explanation.
What do you mean?
Well, normally when people talk about chanting, they say, oh, it's relaxing, it slows your breathing, so your stress hormones go down, which, is true.
It is true, but that's a downstream effect. That's the
Yeah.
result. This text is describing the cause. It's arguing the mechanism isn't just about chilling out mentally, it's about physically stimulating a nerve pathway that dictates chemical release.
It's engineering, not just psychology.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at the application of this. Because Akan Jyoti, that 1978 issue, doesn't just talk about general wellness, it gets clinical.
It does. And this is where the biohacking idea really comes into focus. The text explicitly discusses modern ailments like diabetes and thyroid disorders.
Which are rampant today. I mean, thyroid issues seem to be everywhere.
And both are fundamentally issues of secretion. Diabetes is about insulin. Thyroid disorders are about thyroxine. The text argues these aren't just random organ failures, they're rhythm failures. The lab manager has lost the beat.
So how does the mantra fix a sluggish thyroid, for example? Is it just that signal to the master gland, or is there more to it?
There are two mechanisms mentioned that work together. The first is that frequency recalibration via the pituitary, which we just discussed. But the second one is really interesting. The text calls it subtle heat, or ushma.
Ushma, okay. What does that mean? Are we talking about body temperature? Do you get a fever from chanting?
No, it's not a systemic fever. Think of it more like friction or localized energy. The text describes this subtle heat as a force that clears blocked pathways in the glands.
Blocked pathways, so like plumbing, or like clogged arteries.
That's a great metaphor. Imagine a pipe that has sediment just up so the flow is restricted. The text suggests that the continuous rhythmic vibration of the chanting creates a kind of internal friction, this subtle heat that helps dissolve those blockages.
You know what that reminds me of? Ultrasonic cleaning. When a jeweler puts a ring in a bath and hits it with sound waves, and the vibration just shakes the dirt loose.
That is a brilliant comparison. Modern medicine uses lithotripsy sound waves to break up kidney stones. It's not heat like fire, it's kinetic energy at a molecular level.
So the claim is the mantra acts like a sonic cleaner for your glandular system.
In a way, yes. It agitates whatever is stagnant, allowing the hormones, the chemicals to flow freely again. It ensures the lab pipes are clean.
Wow. That really paints a picture of the body as being so responsive to sound. We think of our bodies as these solid, stubborn things that only respond to drugs or surgery.
But this suggests we're much more permeable. We're vibratory structures.
Yeah.
And if you look at the text, it ultimately gives the Gayatri Mantra a very modern-sounding label. It calls it a biochemical regulator.
Biochemical regulator. That does not sound ancient. That sounds like something you'd read on a prescription bottle.
It sounds clinical. And I think that's the point the sources are trying to make. They want to bridge the gap between chanting as prayer and chanting as function.
It brings up that idea of biological alchemy from the intro. Usually alchemy is, wizards and cauldrons.
But here, the alchemy is physiological. It's turning imbalance into harmony. And the catalyst isn't some magic stone. It's sound. It's vibration.
I want to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If this is so mechanical, pressing buttons on the palate, creating friction, does the intention matter? Or could I just play a recording?
That's a great question. A recording wouldn't give you the benefit because your tongue isn't moving. You aren't typing the code yourself.
Right, the recording is just sound in the air, not the internal switch.
Exactly. But on intention, remember the master gland connection. The pituitary is linked to the mind. Akanjoti suggests that while the sound provides the mechanism, focused intent provides the direction.
So you can't just mumble it while you're scrolling on your phone.
You probably could, and you might get some minor physical benefit. But to fully engage the lab manager,
Yeah.
you need that focused connection. It's like typing the password but forgetting to hit enter.
Ah, you did the work but didn't execute the command.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The mind and body have to be in sync for the regulator to really work.
So if we zoom out, what we have is a user manual for the body that we've largely ignored. We have a keyboard in our mouth, a processing chip in our brain, and a chemical factory running the whole show.
And the takeaway is that we aren't just passive observers of this factory. We actually have access to the control panel.
It really changes how I think about this simple act of speaking.
It should.
Because if specific sounds create specific neuroelectric effects, then what are we doing to ourselves with our daily speech?
That is the thought that just lingers after reading this. If the Gayatri Mantra is a code for harmony, what's the code for stress? What's the code for anger?
We're typing all day long, every time we open our mouths.
We are. Every conversation, every complaint, every song we sing along to. The tongue is hitting the palate thousands of times a day. We are constantly sending signals to the brain.
Are we sending spam? Are we sending viruses?
Or are we sending command lines that crash the system? It makes you think about the precision of language. In these ancient traditions, precise pronunciation was critical. You couldn't mess up a mantra.
Because you'd hit the wrong switch.
You'd get the wrong chemical result. Today, we slur our speech, we mumble, we use filler words. Maybe that lack of precision in our speech is mirrored by a lack of precision in our internal chemistry.
That is a heavy thought. We might be biohacking ourselves into anxiety just by how we talk.
It's possible. The laboratory is always open. The question is, are you running the experiment or is the experiment running you?
So let's recap the journey today, because we covered some dense territory.
We did. We started with the body as a lab, a chemical plant run by hormones.
We introduced the manager, the Gayatri Mantra, and the 24-switch mechanism, where the syllables map to the glands.
We broke down the physics of the mouth keyboard, the tongue striking the palate to create a neuroelectric current.
Then we traced that current to the master gland, the pituitary, and how resetting it can help manage hormonal ailments.
And we looked at frequency and subtle heat as the tools for clearing blockages in that system.
It's a comprehensive system, and frankly, whether you buy the full spiritual package or not, the biological implications are just strength. They're worth thinking about.
Absolutely. At the very least, it forces us to respect the power of sound and the complexity of our own biology.
Before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with one final thing to chew on. Next time you're speaking, ordering coffee, in a meeting, whatever, take a split second to just feel your tongue on the roof of your mouth.
Notice the code you're typing.
And ask yourself, is this a code for health or is this a code for chaos? Because according to these texts, your body is listening to every single keystroke.
Keep the lab clean, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we will see you next time.